Imagine this, one of the most powerful royal families in history, executed in the dead of night, their bodies vanishing into the Russian wilderness. But the Romanovs didn't simply disappear. Their fate became one of the most haunting mysteries of the 20th century. What really happened to their bodies after that fateful night? The Russian Revolution of 1917 shattered the old order, bringing down centuries of imperial rule. At the heart of this upheaval was the Romanov family. The last Tsar of Russia, Nicholas II, his wife Alexandra, and their 5 children. They were more than just figures in history. They were a symbol of the old world that was crumbling, a world that had no place in the new Soviet reality. Their execution on July 17, 1918, marked the end of an era. But the story of the Romanovs didn't end with their deaths. In fact, it was only the beginning of a mystery that would span decades. A mystery filled with intrigue, deception, and the persistent question, what happened to the bodies of the Romanov family after their execution on that fateful night? Tsar Nicholas II and their 5 children, Tsarina Alexandra, Olga, Tatiana, Maria, Anastasia, and Alexei, were led to the basement of the Ipatiev House. The Bolsheviks had taken control of Ekaterinburg, and the Romanovs were under house arrest. They were told they were being moved for their safety due to fears of an approaching White Army. Instead, they faced a brutal and grim fate. The basement of the Ipatiev House had been prepared for this dark moment. The family was made to stand against the wall, with the execution squad positioned before them. The moment was tense. The soldiers were nervous, the air heavy with foreboding. The execution itself was chaotic. The initial gunfire did not kill them immediately, causing a horrifying scene of suffering. The family members were subjected to multiple gunshots, and despite the best efforts of the executioners, not all died instantly. The violence extended beyond the shooting. Reports suggest that the family was subjected to additional brutality to ensure their deaths. The bodies were hastily disposed of in the aftermath, marking the end of a tragic chapter for the Romanovs and a dark beginning for their posthumous journey. After the execution, the bodies were taken away from the Ipatiev House. The executioners, under strict orders from the Bolshevik authority, knew the importance of covering up their action. They transported the bodies to a remote location about 12 kilometers from Ekaterinburg. Here, the bodies were initially buried in a shallow grave. However, this was only a temporary measure. The Bolsheviks were deeply concerned about the possibility of the bodies being discovered. To prevent this, the remains were exhumed from the shallow grave. The bodies were then burned, a desperate attempt to eradicate any evidence of the executions. The burning process was not entirely successful. Not all parts of the bodies were completely destroyed. Fragments of bones and personal items were left behind, scattered around the area. Witnesses and accomplices to the cover-up later provided accounts that detailed the chaotic and hasty nature of the body disposal. These accounts varied, but they consistently pointed to the efforts made to hide the evidence and avoid any potential for the remains to be found. For many years after the execution, the fate of the Romanovs' bodies remained shrouded in mystery. The Soviet government maintained strict secrecy about the details of their deaths and the disposal of their remains. This secrecy fueled rumors and speculation both within Russia and abroad. In the years that followed, various reports and rumors surfaced. Some claimed that the bodies had been thrown into a river, while others suggested that they had been buried in multiple hidden locations. The lack of concrete evidence and the official silence contributed to a growing sense of mystery and intrigue surrounding the fate of the Romanovs. In the 1920s and 1930s, various attempts were made by historians and investigators to uncover the truth. These early searches were largely fruitless, hindered by the Soviet authorities' control over information and the general lack of reliable leads. Nonetheless, the mystery of the Romanovs' remains remained a topic of interest and speculation. The first significant breakthrough in the search for the Romanovs' remains came in 1979. A group of amateur historians and local investigators, driven by rumors and local knowledge, began to search the area around Ekaterinburg. Their efforts were initially driven by a combination of historical curiosity and a desire to find closure for one of Russia's most infamous tragedies. In 1979, their search led to the discovery of a grave site near the town of Ipatiev. This site contained a series of remains, and early examinations suggested that they might belong to the Romanovs. However, it wasn't until 1991, following the collapse of the Soviet Union, that the investigation gained official recognition and support. In the early 1990s, Russian authorities conducted a more thorough investigation. The remains were exhumed, and forensic teams worked to piece together the evidence. The investigation involved rigorous DNA testing, which confirmed that the remains belonged to Tsar Nicholas II, his wife, and 3 of their children. The discovery of the Romanovs' remains marked a significant moment in Russian history. The confirmation of their identities brought closure to a long-standing historical mystery and allowed for a formal recognition of their tragic end. The remains were reburied in a series of ceremonies that took place in 1998, marking the 80th anniversary of the execution. The Reburial was a highly symbolic event. It involved a state funeral with full honors, reflecting both the historical significance of the Romanovs and the changing political climate in Russia. The ceremony was attended by Russian dignitaries, members of the Orthodox Church, and many members of the public. The event was both a commemoration of the Romanovs' lives and a recognition of the broader historical and political changes in Russia. The story of the Romanovs' remains is not just about their tragic end, but also about the broader implications for Russian history and memory. The mystery surrounding their bodies and the eventual discovery of their remains highlight the dramatic shifts that Russia underwent during the 20th century. The Romanovs' reburial provided an opportunity for reflection on the consequences of the Russian Revolution, the nature of historical memory, and the impact of political change on historical narratives. Their final resting place serves as a reminder of the turbulent history that shaped modern Russia and the enduring quest to understand and reconcile with the past. The journey of the Romanovs' body, from their brutal execution to their eventual discovery and reburial, reflects a broader narrative of secrecy, intrigue, and historical transformation. Their tragic end marked the close of a royal era and the beginning of a new chapter in Russian history. The mystery of their remains, the efforts to uncover the truth, and the eventual recognition of their story offer profound insights into the nature of historical memory and the quest for truth. As we reflect on the Romanovs' final chapter, we are reminded of the power of historical investigation, the importance of acknowledging the past, and the ways in which history continues to shape our understanding of the present. If this exploration of the Romanovs' final days captivated you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share your thoughts on the most intriguing aspects of their story, or suggest other historical mysteries you'd like to uncover. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history.